watch who?
Hello.
And welcome to the To Watch Who podcast. My name's Mark,
My name's Sarah.
and I am a Doctor Who fan and have been for a long time.
A long time. And I'm new to Who.
Yes.
I swear
well-
you used to say how long you've been a fan. Are you like covering your age now?
No. Well, yeah, it's been a long time. I'm just conveying that I'm not new to Who,
You are
like
not.
you are. Well, actually, you're not as new because you've done the whole of the first series.
In theory, I've done a year's worth of Who. A year's worth of Who.
Yeah, a whole year.
Not Hugh.
So how are you finding it?
I think because we do it in chunks, I'm now getting used to what the format is for every single episode structure. And that's getting a little bit boring. Or it was for season 1. This one didn't feel that.
Yeah, you sort of know
Yeah.
the land explore captured sort of scenarios.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask, are you enjoying it?
We'll go back, go forth. Like, it's like I could almost write down what I think will happen before it like happens, if that makes sense. I could almost write down what the next episode's structure will be before it's happened. But I think that's because if you were doing it week on week, you wouldn't, if that makes sense.
But I think you're still watching this not knowing what's coming up. So you still don't know. See, I was just thinking this. I haven't told you how long each Doctor's episode, how long the first Doctor's going to last.
No.
How many stories, how many stories the regulars are going to last for.
No.
So I think you watching it for the first time in order like this is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because you are discovering it as you go along. I mean, yeah, there are going to be repetitive bits, but
yeah, and I think
you don't know what's going to happen.
What was interesting is seeing it find its feet. And actually, because now we're going to be doing season 2, this felt very different.
Yeah, series 2. Yeah, so this is it's series 2 of Who and series 2 of this podcast.
So yeah, it felt really different, and I think if I'd have been jumping in and out and watching different episodes, I wouldn't have realised that. I think what if I'd have been jumping out and suddenly watched series 1 and then maybe watched series 3 or I don't know, but I think I've been like, oh well, that one's a bit boring. Oh well. But actually watching them in order, I think I appreciate the character development, the way the stories have developed. But my criticism is towards the end. Like, I think that's why I was a little bit not bored, but I think that's why I didn't enjoy the Revolution, the French one, as much. Because by that point, I now know what the structure is of all the episodes.
I think going into this series, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but I think it will start to change.
Yeah.
Because behind the scenes stuff starts to change. Producers change.
Yeah.
Writers change, as well as maybe some of the cast changes in this series as well. So
yeah. And I think as well, that's why Keys and Marinus was one of my favourites. That didn't follow the same format as the others.
Well, lots of exciting things, and this is still my favourite thing to do. Although I was just saying we are still recording in isolation, so we are watching together, which is my absolute favourite thing to do.
I know.
So we can react live, but this is the next best thing, watching and then over the
discussing. We are as well, so we're talking on Zoom as well, so that this is as close as we can get to talking together.
So but I don't get your live reactions to Barbara, unfortunately.
Or Susan.
or Susan now. So let's go into today's story.
Oh, can I ask before we go in, what was the gap between season 1 and season 2? Or did it just roll?
I think there was a gap. Maybe like a summer break. So maybe
So they got holiday and summer break?
like 6 weeks or something.
They got holiday and
But
summer break?
well, yeah, there was like yeah, they had like a summer holiday.
Ah,
But I think they might have filmed this and the next one and left and had it go over to the next series. So there wasn't, in terms of production,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think they would have gone straight from Reign of Terror to this. But in terms of transmission, I think there was a gap. I
Right.
will look that up for next time. But this was the beginning of the second series. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe 6 weeks
Okay.
gap on
Okay.
TV.
Yeah.
But this does feel sort of fresh.
Yeah, oh yeah, it feels completely different.
So yeah, Planet of Giants. Well, we finished with the Reign of Terror. It didn't go into anything, did it? It
No.
finished with the Doctor's speech saying, "Oh, we're off wandering into space." That was like a nice end of series. And then, well, we went into this.
Literally, we went into it.
Close the doors, please. We have materialized property. Quick.
What do you mean, close the door?
Don't argue, dear boy. It's emergency. Close the door.
So, do you know what? Because we haven't talked about this since we haven't watched this together. This is the first time we're catching up about it. I just want to go into that beginning TARDIS scene,
Yeah.
right? Because they're in the TARDIS and something happens with the controls. Susan has to go and check what the fault is. The doors open on their own. And you know what? In my mind, I was like, oh no, you're going to think this is like Edge of Destruction again. Because the
It's so
scanner went wrong, the doors
yeah.
went wrong. They all went a bit funny. It was like a mini Edge of Destruction those first few minutes.
Yeah. And it's a short episode, like it's only 3, like Edge of
Yeah.
Destruction was only 2. So no, you're right. But I didn't think it was going to be because it's the start.
Yeah.
So and the title, I knew they were going to be out.
Yeah. It gives it more of a clue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For this one. I only watched this when it first came out on DVD. I've only seen it about once before properly. So I enjoyed this actually.
Yeah, I did.
It went so quick.
Yeah, it did.
For these
It did.
3 episodes.
It was really good. It was really different to all the others. Like, I spent a long time working out how they did it.
Because it was very clever. I mean, great in terms of the set and everything. I think if you're going to be a bit nitpicky, maybe the sizes didn't match up to what they were.
Oh God, no!
Supposed to be,
but that's fine. Sometimes, okay, if we're going to use reference, Cats the movie, nowadays, like modern Cats that just came out the movie. Some of those didn't even match up. So like that's quite a common thing. Like so I'm not gonna like hit them on the head for that. But no, I like there were points of it where I was like, how have they done this? Like, have they built all these sets? Because there were some things that were only for like not even a minute. And I was thinking, did they build all these just for that tiny moment? Or they use some sort of computer thing already? Like, I genuinely was like, so if I was like in the 60s watching this, I'd have been blown away.
Smaller?
We have been reduced roughly to the size of an inch.
An inch?
It's a really good adventure and you do get into that with working out what things are and how, and
it was the sync for me.
I did, the sync stuff. Yeah, great when they're
coming in and out the sink and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was thinking,
yeah,
when the Doctor and Susan were in the sink, I was thinking, have they built a sink? Like, have they built that, or are they like, are they not computer generated, but are they like green screen? Like, but did they have that in the 60s? I genuinely was like, how have they done this?
It's so clever, and you should say it is different to what. We're not historical, we're not future. We're this sort of... I think that's the 3 different categories you get at the moment. You get historical, you get future, or you get the sort of other sideways,
But we've not really had
which is your Edge of
sideways.
Destructions and your Planet of Giants, which are a bit.
We've not really had sideways. This is
Well, Edge of
the first
Destruction,
side-
I would say, is sideways.
I'd say Edge of Destruction is nothing.
Okay.
Like,
But then also the contemporary setting, we haven't had that really. If it is sort of supposed to be contemporary with the scientists and things, I wasn't so bothered about the scientists'
involvement.
storyline.
Yeah.
I was just more about following the regulars and how they're going to get out of the situations.
Yeah. No, I think because that was it was set in modern day, but like you say, sideways. So yeah, actually, Edge of Destruction I put as future because it
Okay,
was set
yeah, could be.
right at the end of
Yeah, I suppose.
time.
Yeah, it was.
So
It wasn't anything. Yeah,
like all we've had is very future or past. We've not had anything that really felt weirdly different on
no.
a similar timeline to what we're on. Which I think is what modern day Hugh. Why do I keep saying Hugh? Who is this Hugh that I'm talking about? Modern day Who lives in. Modern day Who quite often is within our own timeline.
It does. Yeah, it feels. You're right. It feels more like what the new series would do with a sort of contemporary and then something unusual happening, and you don't get that very much. And this is quite an unusual one for a 60s, for a classic. Really, you don't get that very much. Well, not at this time.
No.
So yeah, it is something different. So it's good that they are still doing new stuff.
Yeah.
And yet the effects were amazing, and the ants and the fly was.
I mean, they're obviously props. They're obviously like built props.
Yeah, but they are good.
But they're good.
Kids in the 60s.
Where in the 60s are we then in this? Like 60?
Oh, I've got it right here. This was broadcast October to November 1964.
Yeah. Like it's really good. It's really good. So no, I think it's great. I was really
this was
surprised.
Actually, it was going to be 4 episodes. And they filmed it as 4 episodes, but then in the editing they cut it down. They said the story wasn't. There was something wrong with the script or the story, so they edited it down into 3.
Yeah.
Which I think really does help.
Yeah, I think 4 would have been too long. It just worked. Yeah. But actually, this kind of proves our point where we've watched some of season 1 and they've just been too long. We've said sometimes they're just that episode too long. I think if this had been 4, it would have just got a bit boring, them being that small.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The novelty sort of it would have worn off a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Looking into the characters, so it was interesting what we were saying in the Reign of Terror about Susan not really doing very much. Barbara was sort of a bit higher in your estimations at the end of the last series.
Yeah.
This one, they seem to be quite equal.
Mm-hmm.
And Susan was actually quite capable, but then Barbara was less capable.
Yeah. I think that's 60s writing as well. I think I've just settled on that now. I've just accepted that. I don't think I can. I've just accepted that that's what that is. I've come to that settlement.
Ian.
Yeah.
This is sort of his area. He's the science teacher.
Yeah.
It's quite nice to have Barbara's had her history teacher stuff.
No, it's me and
Ian gets to read a couple of formulas and do his thing. But I would say Barbara stands out in this when Barbara gets the poison on her.
Yeah.
And doesn't tell anybody. Don't you think that's that was the standout bit for me?
Well, I mean, it was foolish.
Of course, it makes it all the more dangerous for us.
Why'd you say that?
Well, whatever killed those insects could easily kill us.
The doctor said something like that. I'd forgotten.
Well, don't touch anything, eh?
When she collapsed, I was thinking, "Oh no, you're gonna." But this is the Barbara of the radiation. This is radiation Barbara from the Daleks for me. She's trying to go through. She's going through this. She's in this situation which she never thought she'd ever be in, and she's too scared to say, "Oh, I've got this on me." She doesn't tell anybody. Nobody notices, and she just sort of suffers in silence for ages and ages. Then obviously she collapses. It's the radiation Barbara for me, but a brave radiation Barbara. But are you not having any of that?
I mean, she's been doing it for a year now, so she should know better. Some of that sympathy's gone away now. I never had sympathy though. No, I think I hear you. But no. No, I think I don't know. I think right, okay. Actually, there are some really interesting things in terms of the characters. The Doctor is a lot more compassionate, particularly with Barbara. I don't know if you noticed that quite often, particularly right at the start. So he has that little tantrum, like classic Doctor, and then he turns to Barbara and goes like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I lost my temper. Oh, I'm really sorry, dear, I lost my temper there." Whatever he says to her, I think he calls her dear, doesn't he? Quite often. I want to, but he says it to her, and then he's very compassionate with Barbara. That was never the case, but very compassionate. That was not the case quite often in season 1. And I was really surprised particularly after wanting to dump them at the end, come from one extreme to the other. But from the very start of that episode, it's a very different change of attitude. And particularly as right at the start, it's Doctor and Barbara going off and Ian and Susan. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, because you'd think he would go off with, well, he does end off with Susan, but it's a different way they split up, isn't it?
He rarely goes off with Barbara, very rarely. He usually goes off with Ian or Susan. Rarely goes off with Barbara.
But then you get Ian and Susan when they go off, and then Susan's quite intelligent and saying, "Well, yeah, this could have happened," and you get that side of Susan.
Yeah.
In that way, whereas if when she goes off with the Doctor, she's more of the grandchild in that way. But then when she's back with Ian, they're lighting the match, and she's getting stuck in there helping out.
But no, I found that really interesting, that sort of dynamic with them, and like you say, I think it allowed for more independence for the Susan character, because she wasn't being mothered. She wasn't having to. It's not that Barbara mothers her, but I think in terms of 60s writing, by having those two together, that is how they're put together, if that makes sense. It puts Barbara in a mothering role, and it puts the Doctor as the grandfather role.
With Barbara out of it and poisoned, you've got Susan looking after Barbara.
Yeah, really, it's a really, for dynamics of characters, it's a really interesting episode.
Ian's right, Barbara. You only need a cure if somebody's infected. What we've got to do is stop it being produced. Yes, all right.
I think that's why I found it a really good episode. It didn't play to the stereotypes that it has done for the whole of season 1. It went down a completely different path. It didn't follow what has been the typical pattern of all the Doctor Who episodes to date. Normally, like I say, I think that's it as well. You didn't really meet a villain.
Well, no, because I wasn't really interested. Those scientist characters were just on the edges.
They were the villain, but they didn't impact the main characters.
No, they didn't. No,
their story impacted the world that the characters were in, but they didn't impact the characters, and that was really interesting as well. That's something that we've not had before. And
the cliffhangers were really good. So you had the cat.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, it was just really good. It was really good. In terms of like an opening episode to a season, when you've had a break, I was like, yeah, great. I'd be watching that coming back and be like, wow, like you'd think so much like exciting stuff was going to happen. There's all these new effects, all this like, exciting big stuff. Like you say, great cliffhangers. You see like the relationship of the characters. You'd be expecting like really, and you're seeing them working together. You'd be expecting really exciting things. And like I say, like it's not the expected, like they meet the new people, there's some evil person, they go off, the other people get caught, they have to go and rescue them. Somehow they end up back where they were. They're about to go back. Someone ends up, so they have to go back to the place again to try and get that one person back. This just happens every single other storyline. So
it was teamwork in this for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's
no,
what
it was great.
you've said all along. Just get everyone had their bit. That's
yeah,
and we got it. Well, apart from
That's all
Barbara
it
collapsing, but you know.
No, but even then, even Barbara collapsing, she still actually was involved. She still helped. She didn't just sit on the sidelines. She still
she
like
pushed
helped
that
move that
telephone up.
tap. Yeah. I know exactly. She still did stuff. So she still got like that cork and stuff. So which wouldn't have happened before. I mean, let's go back to Dalek Barbara, who would have just sat on the a bit weak or whatever it was. You know, like that's gone. So yeah, no, it was a great episode. I really liked it for that.
It was a really good one. I'm surprised at this one. To watch it really properly only for the second time.
Well, before we watched it, you said to me, you were like, yeah, just, it's all right. So I wasn't like, I was just kind of like, okay.
When I've watched it before, I've seen that first episode. I thought, oh yeah, I've seen the earthworm and the matches and okay. And I've not really paid attention to what the scientists were saying or what was actually going on with the poison. And then I've got a little bit bored, I think, of just seeing, because I wasn't really following the story. I just was looking at the visuals. And then after like halfway through the episode 2, I was like, well, I've seen this stuff. And then when you get to the end and when they're trying to use a telephone and you see the woman in the switch room and stuff.
I'll tell you what it felt like. It did feel like 2 separate stories. You had what was going on with the doctor and the companions and all that. But then it felt like a bit of a murder mystery. The other story. Because right at the start, someone is shot. And like there is a murder right at the start. And it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't really impact them, but they see it. That's about it. They know about it. They don't solve it as such, but, there is a murder. That other guy, is involved. He gets involved in it. The people, like the woman on the phone, she ends up getting involved in it. They end up sending the policeman down. It all gets unraveled and discovered. It felt like a detective murder thing almost. It felt like a completely separate story.
It felt like you've got the giant, the regular stuff was like the kids' adventure stuff. And then you did have this more sort of adult murder mystery. It didn't feel like they went together, but it worked really well that they affected each other.
This isn't business. This is science. The formula is unacceptable, and I can't, and I do mean can't, Mr. Forrester, allow DN6 to go into production.
When he's washing his hands in the sink and he's like doing that, I'm like, no, they're gonna get. No, it was exciting cliffhangers. It was great, yeah.
And it was nice how they did fit together.
So I think it would be interesting to see. It's on the DVD. They've reconstructed the missing episode, as it were. I'm not sure how.
Was there a missing episode?
Well, because it was 4 episodes and they made it into 3, so they reconstructed it into a 4-episode story. So I think I don't know for sure. There might have been a lot more of the other scientist story stuff that was just padding.
Not necessarily.
But it didn't need it. I think as it is, it worked really well. I don't think it should have been a 4-part. As I say, everybody comes off well in it. The Doctor. They're back to the sort of Keys of Mariners team, enjoying the adventure. Yeah. I mean, I know it's like harrowing and stuff for them. Obviously, it would be if you were like, I don't know, the size of an inch and had to get in and out of the match. When Ian's in the bag and,
when he's in the matchbox to begin with.
Yeah.
And he gets taken so far away from them.
Yeah.
Like all that. Like it's really good. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. I think it reminded me of when you first get a Doctor Who opening season like starter, like as in modern, and you want that that episode to, or anything. I mean anything, when you want that opening episode after a break to just bring you in and grab you. And it did.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is good. It's a surprise. It's a surprising one because it's not a fan favorite really. It's not in anybody's top stories, and I think fans out there, I think you should watch it again. And it should get a bit more attention. I think it just doesn't get the attention for some reason. I don't know. I
No.
just don't hear anybody talk about this one at all.
But maybe it's because though it is so different.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe, and it's just, 3-parter. It's not a big epic,
It's so different to any that we've seen. I mean, but bear in mind, I've seen one season, so I'm comparing this to things that have Edge of Destruction in.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I don't
I've
think
got
there
a
is.
lot
I
of
can't think of
comparisons so
anything
far.
that's similar. Not for a long time. Not a first Doctor story, anyway.
I can only compare it to what I've seen.
Mm.
And it's interesting, like, anyone who listened to our last podcast and we talked about Susan and how one of the reasons that they kept her so young, her character, rather than focusing on the alien aspect, you said that one of the reasons is because so she was relatable. By putting it in a time that the audience knows, that makes it relatable.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, like they're not scientists. They're not like, but you're in outfits that people recognize. You're in a garden, you're in a house, these sort of things that people know and recognize. And
that's what
feel,
happens much later on in the series when it's familiar stuff and it's more Earth based later on. But this is, and I wonder how many kids went to school and switched on the Bunsen burner and tried to like put matches and blow up aerosols and stuff. And actually, it's got, with the pesticides side of things, I think that's quite unusual for a 60s kids show to talk about stuff like, not environment. I know it's not really like talking about the environment, but it kind of is, saying there's this poison that's dangerous, and it's got a bit of a conscience to it in a way.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
Very early on, for I don't think many kids shows would.
I don't know. Would
address
even
that
think about
and
it.
talk about that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's got a lot going for it. I if you're listening and you haven't seen this, then you probably don't know what we're talking about. But go and watch this.
Yeah, it's on Britbox.
On Britbox. Give it a try. And if you've only, like me, if you've only seen it once or twice, give it another go, because it's definitely worth it. Yeah, it's a good start to this series, and a good start for us as well. We're starting on a strong. It might not always be this strong. You know now that it's not always going to be this strong. It's up and down, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's so up and down. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Who's the writer then?
Louis Mark. I don't know if he's written any before
Which
this,
book?
actually. I think he was involved early on. I think, and this is me going back to things I've read in magazines, this was written as possibly the very, very first story. There was a version of this where they were miniaturized instead of an unearthly child. Way back, I think this script has been around for a long time in various forms, and then it ended up here. So
is this?
Yeah.
I
know he writes some other ones later on.
And had he done season 1 stuff before?
No, I don't think there's any that he's written before. No.
Yeah, because I know season 1, it felt like 2 writers most of the time.
Yeah, there was actually. Yeah, there wasn't. Yeah, Terry Nation did. Yeah, a few, and
the last one was
the guy did like Marco Polo, and he did
It felt like a Kenneth was the name of the last one, but I've made that up.
You're really testing me now on my fan knowledge. 1960s writers is not my strong point. Out of all the things you can ask me, I'm sure there's people out there that can name every single one. No, he's not written anything else. He hasn't written anything so far. This guy.
So this is
his first one. Yeah.
So maybe that's why it feels
Maybe,
fresh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, then we ended up,
Okay.
just to finish off, what happened in the TARDIS at the end? Oh, the Doctor, he was flying the TARDIS and he said, I think I know where we are now. And then the next episode was called World's End.
Yeah. And the screen was all fuzzy and he was like, oh, didn't fix it or something like that. And then he's like, oh, I think it's clearing. And then the title comes up on the screen.
So it's not, I like that we've gone back into
Which was really cool as well. Like, because normally it's just like across the whole of our screen, whereas this time it focused on that TV screen. That was really cool.
So I'm going to ask you the question. Where do you think we're going now?
What was it, the end of the world or something?
It's a good one. It's
a
favourite next coming up. It's a big one next time.
Okay. I'm guessing the future. I know. I did hear it was 6.
Yeah.
I heard it was a big one.
It is going to be it is going to be an eventful one next time.
Okay.
Which I'm excited about.
The future, I'm guessing.
We'll see. Cool.
Only for it to be that sort of name, it's got to be in the future.
Yeah. I think, you're pretty much right, yeah.
I don't know where, I don't know what, but it's in the future.
Yeah. This series is a good one. It's got, what else can I say about this series? It's got my favourite ever First Doctor story in it.
Oh,
so
that's exciting.
That's coming up.
Is it this one?
No, not for a while yet.
Okay.
But my favourite ever. It's probably got my least favourite as well. So
is that worse than Edge of Destruction?
So a lot is going on in this series.
Oh God.
But anyway, thanks everyone for listening. And if you are new,
it's quite a short one, though.
It is actually, yeah. Well, it's a short story, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's all positive.
Yeah,
and the characters are great. There's nothing really to it. Just watch it. Just go and watch it.
We'll make up for the positivity in future ones, I'm sure. But if you are new to Who, then watch along with us. I'm watching on the DVDs, and Sarah's got Britbox, and is they're all on there. So there's lots of different ways to follow the series. And if you are a long-time fan, watch along with us as well, and maybe you'll see these in a new light, like I am on some of them. You can follow us on Twitter to Watch Who, and Instagram as well to Watch Who. And we will see you next time for the next story. Where I feel like the next story is going to be a long episode because there'll be a lot to talk about. Just predicting that now. So we'll see you then.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
To Watch Who.
Doctor Who? What's he talking about?